We've all heard about LED lighting before, but have you ever heard about LEP lighting? Well, if not, then stick around, because on this episode of American Reef, we're going to have Chris Pieser from Chameleon Grow Systems, and he's going to tell us a little about LEP, right, and his company, Chameleon Grow Systems. Again, if you're watching this video and you find value in it, help support American Reef. You can do that two ways. Number one, you can go to AmericanReef.com and subscribe to Reef Tutor, and basically it is a $2 a month subscription fee, which will give you access to about 200-ish videos where we go behind the scenes at a local fish store and we get their take on basically how they maintain their tanks, the advice that they give to their customers, as well as kind of their service accounts. Again, well worth the price for admission, so to speak. Another way, go to AmericanReef.com. Bottom of that page, dead center, it'll say buy now for HPD. Again, HPD is what I believe to be one of the best marine fish foods on the planet, and it's a win-win either way. You can support American Reef while at the same time supporting the health of your fish. Now, with that being said, let's talk about LEP lighting. The P actually stands for plasma, and today Chris Pieser, who is owner of Chameleon Grow System, is going to basically go through a Q&A with me, right, to talk about, hey, who is this lighting for, why is it good, and again, even about his company, why is his company good. So rather than hear me talk about it, let's go hear from Chris.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for spending the time with us today. How's everything going, sir?
I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for the call. We really appreciate it.
Totally my pleasure, sir. So tell me, what's your goal for today's conversation?
Well, Russ, what I wanted to talk about with you is that plasma lighting is a relatively new lighting source. We're having great success with it in the horticulture industry, and we did a test here at a local aquatic theme park. You can fill in the blank there.
For everybody else's sake, Chris actually lives in Florida.
Oh, yeah, Orlando, Florida. I live in Orlando, Florida, and at a local aquatic theme park backstage, they have two tanks side by side, same chiller, same water circulation. And what the professor did there was he weighed the coral frags, coral and clams, before they went in the tank, and then a month later, he weighed them again. And what we saw was 109% increase in coral growth. So that's why I reached out to you, Russ, because we need to find a commercial coral grower that can help us validate the kind of results that we saw. If you were a coral grower and we could get you 109% more profit, more weight, more profit, would that be of any interest to you? So we need your help. Can you find us someone to test this out with?
Yeah, very much so, right? That's why we're actually talking today, right? Given the broad range of viewers that American Reef has, I know quite a few viewers that are actually coral farmers. So with that said, let's talk about this particular example, meaning what kind of lights did they actually have?
Yep, 3 Hamilton metal halides on one tank and three Hamilton metal halide 400 waters on one tank, and then the 300 watt plasmas, 3 of those on the other tank. So we produced 109% more coral weight with 34% less electrical usage. And the radiant heat is so different as well. You can put your hand right up underneath the plasma light, and I mean, you can actually touch the glass if you like. I wouldn't recommend doing that with the Hamilton metal halide. You'll pull back a bloody stump.
Dude, I know. I can't tell you how many times that I've burnt my fingers, right, on metal halides. Now, with that said, LEDs, right? Most of the hobbyists have already gone that LED route, right? But that's not who we're talking about today, right? We're actually talking about coral farmers, right? People who want to grow coral.
Well, you raise a good point. LED is extremely valid for aquariums because it's so compact, it's light, it uses very little power, almost no radiant heat. But the difference between LED and plasma, if you're a commercial grower, is the full spectrum light nutrition which we bring to the table. Now, I was just at Purdue University. They have my lights there, and they're testing them against LED. So it was pretty fortuitous here that you just asked that question. I was just there a few days ago. So what we saw was Purdue is using 2 colors of LED, and they're producing forced results. So they want a little more color in this ornamental, so they changed the red-blue mixture. They're only using 2 colors, and it gives them a different end result. Well, that's okay, but if you only ate 2 sources of food in your whole life, right, you would not flourish. Luckily, they were in a greenhouse, so they were getting supplemental lighting and just affecting the color outcome. Well, our light did terrific. Now, if you were to do that indoors with just 2 colors of LED, the plants would still grow. It's still very valid, but that's the point I'm making about the full spectrum light nutrition, where you're going to benefit from a balanced diet just as you would with balanced light spectrum.
Interesting. What kind of plants were they growing?
They used a variety of bedding plants. So they were ornamentals in nature. So that's exactly what they're trying to do, is to affect the ornamental color.
That's wild, right, when you think about it, because like, in keeping corals, that's really the same kind of thing, right? Meaning that we're just trying to manipulate color. That's wild.
That's right. And I think from an aesthetic perspective, LED really brings a lot to the table. From a growth, a live plant perspective, plant and animal perspective, it brings healthy energy to the table. So if you've ever been snorkeling over a reef, it's this beautiful yellow sunlight that comes through. In the water, it looks just like that, and that is not always attractive to aquarists. You've gotten used to blue light from metal halide. So this is almost the spectrum of the sun, so it has a little yellow tinge to it. Now, we do have an instrument I'm going to send you that has 4 Kessel deep ocean blue sidecars on it, and it is strictly to change the color temperature for aquarists who are used to seeing that blue water. And still give you the benefit of the coral growth from the full spectrum light nutrition. And at night, if you want to run the LEDs, it'll just, the actinic will fluoresce like all get out.
Okay, right. So what you're saying then, if you want to grow corals, then the plasma light outshines the rest of them, right?
If you want to grow healthy coral, yeah, nice pun. Healthy coral. The ecosystem, that's the word I was looking for. It helps build a healthy ecosystem. So the light nutrition, the right light nutrition, along with the nutrients that are in the water and how coral grows, is going to be a lot healthier with full spectrum light. Everything we've put under this light has succeeded. So we're growing algae for biofuel at UC Davis. We are growing organic photovoltaic cells. That's really hard to say. At Pomona College, microgreens at University of Hawaii. We're growing medical marijuana for the United States government at the University of Mississippi. I bet you didn't know that there was a authorized, that's the only place in the world. We're growing cactus bacteria for They're targeting neurodegenerative diseases in their treatment. We're testing solar cells. I mean, the list goes on and on. We have 10 university-level research programs, but what we're missing is more validation on coral.
So why did you get into business, Chris? I mean, what's the draw?
My very good friend, a horticulture scientist, I went to his greenhouse one day and saw these totally inefficient lights. I said, "Wow, Craig, you got to be kidding me. You're using a parking lot light in your garage." Being from entertainment for the past 35 years, I know what excites people. And funny enough, it excites plants as well. Plants and animals respond to light. So I went back and I called some of my entertainment contacts, and I got a 7-color LED when it first came out on the market, an entertainment product. And I put it in my, I have a research facility. I put it in my research facility, and it was absolutely amazing. The plants were very, very healthy in comparison to the high-pressure sodium that Craig's using in his greenhouse, and he's a professional grower. So I stepped back and I said, well, I can make this so much better. And that's how I started. I got started with LED lighting. But then I switched to plasma because I could not get a full spectrum out of LED lighting. You're using single colors in combination and you get a certain result. In plasma lighting, you get the entire spectrum. So why would I not want to give the plant the entire spectrum? So that's why I jumped into it.
You know, it's really funny that you mentioned that, because single colors, like in the early days of the LEDs in the reef keeping, I mean, that was actually one of the problems, meaning you would see like single color spectrums reflecting off the sand, right? And so to your point, right, with LEDs, instead of mixing the light right down in the tank, right, like LEDs do, for example, plasma sounds like you're actually mixing it at the source, which is really cool, right? Now, a totally different topic, right? Where did you come up with the name Chameleon?
A couple of different things contribute to that. My father was what I would call a chameleon. He could walk into any situation and feel comfortable. You know, that first day of school and you're in the lunchroom and you're looking around and you just look new. You know, he could just walk in anywhere and just like a chameleon, he would just fit in. So I kind of named it after him. And I'm a chameleon as well. I picked that up from my dad. I'm very adaptive. Yeah, and so if you think about the chameleon, adaptive is a very good word to describe this light. It is so adaptive, it will grow anything that you put under it, just like the sun would. That's very beneficial, very beneficial to a lot of markets.
Beneficial indeed, sir. So how long have you been in the business?
Well, we've been in business with plasma, our relationship with Luxem, the manufacturer that makes it, for about almost 3.5 years now. So it's about 4.5 years old. We came in shortly after they began commercializing it. It's very, very, very difficult. It was very unstable at the beginning, very difficult to commercialize. Several other companies have tried, and although there is one out there now, it doesn't last very long, and it's not the build quality that these are. These things are rock solid now.
Well, before we get into the build quality, one of the first things that comes to mind when I'm thinking of lights is how much power does it actually take to run lights? Meaning you've got power not only to run the lights themselves, but, you know, cooling, you know, all that sort of stuff, right? Give me your thoughts on that.
Great question. So heat Electrical energy for power draw generates the same heat from this instrument to that instrument. So 300 watts generates X amount of heat, no matter what the lighting instrument is, more or less. But the difference is the radiant heat that comes off the light source itself. In high intensity discharge like metal halide and high pressure sodium, they have a spike at about 825 nanometers, which is not beneficial for any plant growth. That infrared superheats your surface water, which again is going to increase your chiller requirements. And we also draw less power to get equal amount of light.
Sure, sure. I did get that, but you got to understand now, in the reef keeping community, a lot of people have already switched to the LEDs. Again, which are using hardly no power at all.
Well, I would say, Russ, here would be a good challenge for us to find someone who is just hooked on LEDs for coral growth, and put one of these in a tank right next to it, and let's just let the light tell the story. Again, the LEDs are going to look terrific. They're going to fluoresce the actinic. I mean, they're going to do all the things you want it to do for a fish tank. But if you're growing coral for money, you need to try this. If you're serious about your bottom line, you need to try this.
So we know LED stands for light emitting diode, right? For LEP, light emitting plasma, right? What's the difference between the two?
So LED and plasma. Let me explain how plasma works, how the plasma light source works. There is a lamp ampule that has no filament, and what happens is there's radio frequency waves that bombard this lamp ampule, and it excites the gases in it, which just like the sun glows. It makes a plasma and it glows. So the difference between that and, let me go to a traditional light source like the Hamilton metal halide, for instance, or a metal halide. Those have an envelope with a tungsten filament. The minute you turn it on, that tungsten filament begins to pollute the atmosphere within the lamp ampule. And also, there's a little bit of a spatter that comes off the tungsten that also coats the inside of the envelope and starts to block light. So the minute you turn it on, the clock starts ticking pretty quickly to reach its half-life. So high-intensity discharge, 20,000 hour half-life. Light-emitting plasma, 30,000 hour half-life. So now, in comparison to LEDs, that is such a completely different technology, and it's a little difficult to explain. So I'm not going to jump into that one. I'm no expert on LED.
Sure, again, makes total sense, right? And again, this product is specifically geared for people, right, who want to grow corals. That's
right. I'm going to call this what I like to say, application driven. So what's your application? If your application is the home hobby aquarist, then an LED fixture is probably a great choice for you. If your application is live coral, then this is an exceptional product for that application, whether it be the homeowner, home aquarist, or commercial aquarist. If you're growing live coral, this is the light, the full spectrum light. You can't beat it. Put the LEDs next to it and turn them on at night so you can get your cool aquarium look fix, but make it healthy during the daytime.
Okay, so I'm going to set you up now, right? So it's a rock solid solution for growing corals?
So speaking of rock solid, let me tell you a little bit about our product. Since it's going to be in or near salt water, well, not in salt water, since it's going to be near salt water, we built the product out of all 316 stainless steel. That's the same metal they use on oil rigs in the North Sea. So it isn't going anywhere. Like 10-year warranty on the metal housing. And everything has been treated to make it more robust in that atmosphere. So We built it so that you can, we hired aerospace engineers here on the Space Coast in Florida. So it's nice, our location, there's a plethora of engineers. We hired that company, and the criteria was, I need to squirt a water hose on this thing and not have a problem. Because somebody's going to do it in a greenhouse, somebody's going to do it, you know, filling up their fish tank. It's going to happen, and I don't want a problem. So aerospace engineers helped me develop the envelope for the lamp. It has to be very, very clean in that lamp envelope as well, because there's some very high temperatures. You don't feel it when you're coming out, but in order to get that plasma to glow, you do. So you could hit our unit with a baseball bat, and you could squirt it with a water hose, and I wouldn't recommend that with any other light source on the planet.
Now I'm assuming these plasma lights have cooling fans, correct?
Indeed. Yep. You have to cool, the electronics do need cooling, so there are 2 cooling fans. It really only needs 1 cooling fan, but we put 2 on there, so there was some redundancy. One goes out, you're not out. You call me up and say, hey, I got a fan out. We're going to figure out how to swap it out so you're not without your product.
So if I'm one of those dudes who actually takes a hose to the fan itself, is it going to tick? Is it going to fall apart?
No problem. Nope. It's a special fan. It's actually a special made fan. It's a 26-week lead time to get it. So I have to think way ahead, because they put a polymer coating, an elastomeric polymer coating on the electronics, and no one else is coming anywhere close to that attention to detail.
Okay, very cool.
Yep.
So with that being said, as far as maintenance, if something breaks, is it easily to repair?
Well, there's no user serviceable parts, but the half-life on this thing is 7 years, running it 16 hours a day. So it's quite robust. It isn't going anywhere. It's not going to rust. It's not going to corrode. It's just going to run and run and run.
That's interesting. You know, and you reminded me of something. One of the coral farmers that I know, what they'll do is they'll grow their coral, in a greenhouse, right? And basically, what they'll do is 2-3 weeks before they actually go to sell it, they'll bring it in under the LEDs to kind of color them up, right? With plasma lighting, is it the same kind of thing? Meaning, you know, that brown kind of zooxanthellae. Do you have those kind of procedures as well if you are a coral farmer?
You know, you just raised a really important point here. This is so true in the horticulture industry, and you just confirmed it for the aquaculture industry. What they are using LEDs for is to make it look better before it goes to market. Okay, so they're using natural sunlight and 2 colors of red and blue, 2 colors of LED, and the LED is affecting the color and the look, which is very attractive. Then you get your plant home, and it changes. It looks different. It looks much different after 2 or 3 weeks. You grow it under plasma, looks the same. You put it out in the sun, looks the same.
Really? That's wild.
Yep. It is. So you ever, buy a couple of plants at Lowe's and get them home, and a few weeks later they just look terrible? Yep. Sometimes it's because they're finishing them either with plant growth regulators, which is a really big industry, or with supplemental LED lighting. Careful, careful what you ask for.
Obviously, you have customer support, right? So tell me how you treat your customers.
We have an excellent customer support network here. You can call us just about any time of the day. I mean, we do have to sleep at some point, but yep, just give us a call. We know exactly what's wrong with it. We can ask you 3 questions and tell what's wrong with it. So we have them in stock here, and for some of our customers, our larger customers, if they call me up and said, hey, I just had a light go out, I ship them a light and they ship me the one back. So once I have a trust relationship with people, I can expedite that as well. It's a risk on my part not getting the asset back on their end, plus I'm sending them a brand new instrument. So when it comes back, now I have a used instrument I can't sell for new. That's how deep our customer service is.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. I know anytime that I call, you're always super responsive.
Yeah, you know, I get that comment a lot. As a matter of fact, one time I didn't pick up the phone with the CEO from Luxem, and he left me a voicemail, and he said, in the 2.5 years, this is about a year ago, in the 2.5 years that we've been working together, I've never gotten your voicemail. You've picked it up on the second ring. You must be really busy. So I pride myself, and I ask my team immediate responses. People are sitting there at their computer with a question or a problem, and they need your help right now, not in 20 minutes. So, you know, I got a smartphone. I can do most of the stuff I need to do on my smartphone. So if you ask me a question, why shouldn't I answer that immediately? It makes me crazy to wait 2 or 3 days or a week for an answer. You know, you lose your momentum with that customer, whether it be for a sale or for a repair.
Any customer care stories you'd like to share with all the viewers?
So this is a customer. He bought a grow light 2 years ago, right? It's a 1-year warranty. So he calls me in year 2. He was 2 days from hitting year 2. And he sent it in, and I repaired it for no charge. I paid for the freight and repaired it for no charge. I don't always do that. I do it as often as I can. Sometimes I ask the customer to pay for the freight. But, you know, we want to build a reputation like Apple has, where you get good customer service, and you get it fast, and you get the right information. I took a computer to Apple once. It was a year out of warranty, and they fixed it. I'll never buy another computer. I'm sold on that company. They are great. So here's what my customer with 1 year out of warranty, he says, I did not see a place for testimonials on your website, but here is mine in case you decide to incorporate them. And here's his comment. Chris, I just wanted to let you know I could not be happier with my purchase from Chameleon Grow Systems. The light is outstanding and my plants have never looked better. The savings in electricity have made this an economical decision as well. I would recommend Chameleon Grow Systems to anyone. Service has been great. I can't wait to purchase the 500-watt instrument that comes out soon. So that's the kind of customer service. That's what our customers think about our company.
So one thing that we haven't really covered yet is kind of an overview of the lights. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about the lights that you offer.
We are focusing on 2 products, Russ. We've got the Solar Genesis 1, a single plasma light source, and a Solar Genesis 5, which includes 4 Kessel LED sidecars. We call it a 5 because 4 LEDs and 1 plasma gives you 5 light sources. We build the Solar Genesis 5 in 2 configurations, one for the aquarist with the deep ocean blue, and then one for growers with far red.
So now you mentioned far red. That's kind of a new term for me. What does that mean?
So within the spectrum of light that plants see, that's called photosynthetically active radiation, PAR. And that's a mixture of all the colors between blue and red. Far red is getting all the way to the right-hand side of that spectrum, that magic curve, before it goes infrared. Okay, infrared plants don't use, or plants or animals don't absorb. But the far red, 630 and 660 nanometers, plants just love it, especially flowering plants.
Now let's talk spectrum for a second. What kind of spectrum do these lights actually produce?
It produces the entire PAR spectrum with almost nothing else. It's like the perfect sunlight in a box without the side effects.
Okay, for now, for all the new hobbyists that are out there, I want you to give a brief overview on how actually you measure light.
Well, there are 2 ways to measure, well, there's several ways to measure light. One is in foot candles, one is in lumens, and one is in micromoles of PAR. The one that we're interested in is micromoles of PAR. So don't be confused. Foot candles is an output that the human eye sees, whereas PAR is a wider spectrum than humans can see, and that plants use for photosynthesis.
Now again, for the new hobbyist, PAR does not measure spectrum, right?
When you're measuring light, there are really two main things that you should be concerned about. One of which is PAR, the spectrum between 400 and 700 nanometers. That is the true PAR spectrum, and that's what your plants need. Plants and animals need that perfect spectrum. When you're measuring the intensity of light, you are measuring that in micromoles of PAR, but it doesn't tell you where within that PAR spectrum you're picking up light. So it could be strictly yellow, like a high pressure sodium. You'll see a big spike in yellow, and it does measure a lot of micromoles of PAR because it's a very efficient light source. But that doesn't mean that it's the full spectrum of PAR. It's just a lot of a few colors, whereas the plasma has the entire spectrum of PAR with a slight fall off in red.
Now, does that mean a perfect PAR spectrum, for example, when you're looking on the graph, it would look like a square?
No, actually not, Russ. The plant uses different colors in different intensities. PAR has more red than it does blue. So if it was a square box, like you said, and even light all the way up, the plant is still only going to use a certain amount of that blue and a certain amount of that red and everything in between. All the other light in that box would be wasted.
That's wild, right? Because in my mind, the light analogy to this sounds a lot like vitamins and minerals, meaning, as humans, we all need a certain percentage of whatever, C, calcium, magnesium, those kind of things. But the percentages themselves change, right? And so with the lighting spectrum, with the colors, right, it's the same kind of thing. That consumption changes.
Yeah, the reds, plants respond to red in flowering mode very much. And they also respond to blue, but in a lesser quantity. That's what a spectrometer will measure, the amount of light per nanometer within that entire 400 to 700 spectrum. The closer you can get to that PAR curve, the more magic that light is. So Russ, you asked a lot of questions about spectrum and about energy output. I think one thing to keep in mind is you can analyze all day long and think about all these ways to measure light and try to make an educated decision. We're going to help you with that, and let me tell you how. We have a 90-day satisfaction guarantee. That means take it home. 90 days later, if you don't like the coral growth that you see, if you don't like the way your ecosystem has responded to perfect PAR, to a good PAR output, send it back to us.
Wow, that'll work in a big way. Okay, so how does somebody take you up on that offer?
Well, if you go to our website, Russ, just hit the Contact Us button. It goes right to my iPhone. So I'll be back in touch with you just as soon as my fingers can fly back and answer. As far as getting the product in your hands, we have plenty of inventory in stock. If you're a coral farmer and you want to try this out, call me. Call me. We'll see what kind of agreement we can come to. If it's a large project and it makes sense, I might even travel there, make sure it's installed correctly, get to know you a little more, and develop that relationship, because our company is all about relationships. And one thing that you should know, if we don't feel that our product is right for the application, we will recommend that you not purchase it. We would rather have a happy customer than someone who's grumbly. So when someone calls me about a light, I ask them a lot of questions like you're asking me, because I want to make sure this is the right fit for them, because I don't want to send something out there and have them be disappointed. Only happy customers. And if you're not happy, send the light back to us, 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Call me on the phone. I'm available 16 hours a day.
Dude, that's awesome. Let's hope your phone actually rings when we release this video. That, and it sounds like a good place to cut it. Thanks for spending the time.
Yeah, right on, man.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Right, if we had to summarize what this video is about, it's really simple. If you are growing corals for money, then Chris wants to talk to you because he believes that he can take and basically double the growth of your corals within a month's time frame, as well as that kind of profit on those corals. So ultimately, he wants to work with you to basically make that happen, or to verify basically it can happen. In my particular case, I do have some reef hobbyist friends, right, that do grow coral. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually document the lighting in their systems over the weeks and months to come. That way we can kind of see what kind of surfaces. In my mind, I believe, like everything else in this hobby, there's going to be some exceptions. Meaning, for example, I know people that grow corals in greenhouses, and in the late spring, summer, fall kind of time frame, they have to use shade cloths because the natural sun, right, is actually just too powerful for them, right? And you know, to me, it's kind of funny when you think about it, but whatever, it's just the facts of the matter. So, you know, we'll see what kind of surfaces. If you are a new hobbyist, from the video, you got a little bit more about what makes good light, right? The fact that, like, plasma, for example, is kind of a, you know, an already mixed kind of spectrum as opposed to the LEDs being segregated. But that goes to show you how important, for example, those lenses are on the LEDs to kind of do that light mixing. Also, how we measure light, you know, the key factors there. And again, if there is somebody who you support that is growing coral, let them know about basically Chameleon Grow Systems with Chris, and pass the word. Again, we're going to see if we can take this thing somewhere and ultimately see, you know, what kind of, you know, surfaces. Speaking of supporting, again, you've heard me say many times, right? Give my sponsors a chance to earn your business. The main reason, because they are good, honest people, right? They care, right? They care about you being successful, and they just care in general. They are Tunzi, Bulk Reef Supply, Premium Aquatics, right? Ecosystems. Again, all just good guys that deserve a chance to earn your business. I know for me, I wouldn't be successful in this hobby if they didn't exist. So again, give them a chance to earn your business. Again, I hope you found some value in this video. And if you do, support me. Support American Reef by going to Reef Tutor, as well as purchasing some HPD. Again, I'm Russ Kicko, and thanks for watching this episode of American Reef.